For more than 3 centuries, until the Quiet Revolution of the 1960s, the Roman Catholic Church dominated the life of Quebec. To it goes much of the credit for preserving the French language in this corner of North America. But there was a price to pay. The Church urged its followers to stay on the farm, to look inward, to avoid contact with the English. Thus, by largely withdrawing from the field, they left the way clear for the Anglos to dominate industry and commerce.
Education in French Quebec was based on the values of 17th century Catholic France. Those who were born to lead, the children of the rich, got excellent education in private schools. Those who were born to follow, the children of the poor, well, there was no point in wasting education on them. The result was that in Quebec, the rich only interest in public schooling was to keep the cost down. Even after the Quiet Revolution, when the education system democratized, the private school remained very important for the children of the rich. The French often blame the English for the educational problems of their society. The fact is, it was their own elite that did them in.
Up to recent years, in most big Montreal offices, you had to speak English if you wanted to get ahead. And it helped if you were English as well. To Francophones, this was a major injustice. This and the fact that you couldn't get served in French in large department stores. Resentments like these helped fuel the rise of nationalism and separatism.
In the Quiet Revolution of the 1960s, the state took over from the church as the protector of the French language and culture, but the state had powers the church never had. It could pass laws like Bill 101 that required the use of French in all companies employing more than 50 people.
In Montreal, big business, Anglophone business, was frightened by the new language laws of 1977. And in 3 years, more than 600 companies moved their head offices out of Quebec. This left a vacuum that French businessmen could fill. And now it was young Anglos who couldn't get jobs in big offices. Meanwhile, industry kept on leaving. And in Montreal, unemployment and poverty came to be among the worst in Canada. At the Salon du Livre, journalist William Johnson is promoting his new book. In it, he examines 150 years of French-Canadian literature, where the predominant theme is anger, directed at the English.
You see it in such poets as Gaston Miron. Miron's whole work is based on saying this: I'm suffering anguish, I have no identity, I can't speak because my identity is broken because of the Anglos who they call me Speak White, they call me Pepsi, they call me floor sweeper, and he can't exist because of the Anglo. You have Fernand Ouellet, another poet, exactly the same theme. He says that whatever is English in this society is taken away from the French and keeps the French from being what it should be. In La Rage by Louis Hamelin, which won the Governor General's Award for 1989, you have the hero who does not get the heroine. She's a figure of Quebec because he's not hard enough. The heroine says, you can't be a lamb, you have to attack, you have to destroy. And periodically the Anglos present it as punched in the face, his nose all bloody. That is the constant portrayal for 150 years, and no one ever talks about this. It's the mythology of the Anglo as a serpent. So I wrote a book to finally get this across, not primary to English-speaking people, that's not my audience. I wrote it in French because I am targeting the intellectuals. I'm saying, don't you see what you're doing? How can you allow this ideology or this mythology, which is a school of hatred, to go on for 150 years. And I feel that if we're going to have any kind of a truly liberal debate in this society and in this country, we have to come to terms with these old demons, these old priest-ridden myths that still walk. The priests are dead, they're buried, the skin has fallen off their bones, but they're still controlling us from a distance, from the graveyard. We're still walking with these old mythologies in our heads.
Il parle de Beauchemin, ce sont tous mes amis. Il insulte tous mes amis.
J'ai parlé de Beauchemin aussi, j'ai parlé de Gaston Miron, c'est sûr.
But if French authors habitually vilify Anglos, the opposite almost never occurs. But when it does occur, or seems to occur, it can bring on an outpouring of rage in the French media. That's what happened when Mordecai Richler published his notorious book.
It was hysteria, paranoia. And I was misquoted very often. The first two people to stand up and denounce the book and call for its banning had never even read it, which helped. So no one was responding to my specific points. The main thrust of the book dealt with the sign laws. There is no possible intellectual defense of these laws, so critics concentrated on the 30 or 40 pages that deal with the anti-Semitism of the past in Quebec, and this is where the subject of controversy in the book. What I did say is that anti-Semitism is a more serious problem in this province than it is in the rest of Canada. This was not an invention of mine. I based it on 3 independent academic surveys. I didn't write these surveys, I didn't commission them, I just reported on their contents.
The English leadership of Quebec has to speak to the power, to the French majority, and therefore it's always concerned about the danger of offending that majority, and it very seldom says what is really on our mind. It never says to the majority, look, we are offended, this is degrading, this is humiliating, and this cannot be tolerated. That kind of thing never gets said.
This will never do. It's a flagrant offense, and some citizens were very upset. Len Cocolicchio, Pointe Claire City Councilor, explained.
People in question took their concern to the Commission de Protection de la Langue Française, and the Commission sent, I guess, a team of grown men and women to comb the streets of Pointe Claire looking for Pointe Claire signs that did not have the hyphen.
Without the hyphen, it's English. With the hyphen, it's French.
So now the city has been busy the last couple of months inserting those hyphens.
It's an arduous task, but it will be done.
We can let the Commission know, and all of these people who are concerned about missing hyphens can sleep well at night.
The hyphen had to go in, but the apostrophe had to come out to make it look French. So Young's was now Young. Should the sign law cause despair, or is ridicule more appropriate? As in the music of Bowser and Blue.
The Berlin Wall has finally fallen. We watch them all celebrate. The Romanian people have thrown up their chains, and Saddam was kicked out of Kuwait. In Russia, a KGB coup didn't work without the people's consent. But meanwhile, in Quebec, a woman was fined for displaying a sign that said, apartment for rent.
It says welcome in 35 languages. But in Montreal, in the year of the city's 350th birthday, 34 of these languages are illegal when displayed in front of a store. When the sign law first came out, big stores like Eaton's immediately complied with every detail. But some smaller stores, like this one, challenged the law.
I am not prepared to change nor remove my signs. At this point, we've been in court about 10 times. We're continuing on. I feel we're going to end up in the Supreme Court of Canada.
Harry Schick runs a suburban pastry shop that has caught the attention of newspapers in the United States and Europe. They've reported with incredulity a government's unceasing efforts to make a small store hide its English name.
If I, God forbid, lose this case, I still do not see myself changing these signs ever. They will always remain bilingual. I'm prepared to go to jail. If they don't want to put me in jail, I'm afraid they're liable to seize my store. If they seize my store, they're going to put 26 people on unemployment. That's wonderful for the province of Quebec with the unemployment rate so high.
The minutes of the meeting go back to 1822, and from the walls past presidents look down with sublime Anglo confidence. But things have changed at the Montreal Board of Trade, as explained by its Vice President, Alex Harper.
Whereas in bygone days, and that's not that many years ago, if there was one Anglophone in the room, everything was in English. And today, if there's one Francophone in the room, very often we'll see it being exactly the opposite. That is to say, all of the Anglophones will speak French, and enthusiastically so.
At Concordia University, the new reality of Montreal's business world is well understood. And there's a course where Juliette Laplante-Leroux teaches young Anglos how to survive.
C'est de mieux connaître le Québec, la culture québécoise, les Québécois, les gens en général, c'est-à-dire en grande partie eux-mêmes. Voilà.
As the teacher says, it's to know Quebec better. And to do this, the class will listen to French music, visit French bars, and, of course, discuss politics.
On doit parler le français, mais je vois pas pourquoi on doit avoir des enseignes en français.
The course is called The Art of Living in French. And some of the students find that their efforts to do this are not always encouraged.
Je lui demande où sont les chambres L400 et il commence à rire. Il dit chambres, les chambres. Et je dis oh je m'excuse, les salles, les salles.
Ainsi font trois petits tours. Ainsi font.
For young Anglophones, French immersion right from the start. In English Montreal, this practice has become a major aspect of education. In many school districts, the overwhelming majority of kindergarten pupils are thoroughly immersed.
Brian, we're gonna wait a few minutes. Après, on va aller boire de l'eau. Après. D'accord? Après, nous irons boire.
It all started here, at the St. Lambert Elementary School. It was here, in 1965, that Quebec's very first French immersion class was held. There were 26 students in that kindergarten class, and most of them grew up to speak very good French. But still, by now, at least half of those former students have moved out of Quebec.
We do a lot of immigrants. They seem to come to Quebec for a while and then move out after a year to Ontario or Vancouver.
Roger Boulard is an executive with a trucking company that specializes in traveling the legendary Highway 401. Trucks that carry not only furniture, but also economic potential.
We moved a Kuwaiti family that was here about 6 months, a beautiful house. The house was worth about $400,000, and moved them to Mississauga. They were going there to invest money to start up a business.
Hey, when will you yourself be leaving?
I'll probably leave in about 5 years when I've moved everybody out of the province, made my money and leave.
So the question is, why are these people wanting to leave Quebec if they speak French perfectly?
Maria Peluso teaches political science at Concordia University.
You know, last year, 256 Anglophones applied for jobs in the Quebec public sector, and yet only 6 were hired. So whether you speak French or not is really not an issue. The point is that you're not French. The point is that you're not du souche québécoise. And there's something inherently racist with that. There is something that is inherently discriminatory.